let me back up. Let me tell you how this started. Because you deserve the whole truth, not just the parts that sound nice. Me too. I used to be someone who believed love was simple. I used to think if you were kind enough, patient enough, present enough, it would always be enough. I built my whole life around that belief, around being the person who shows up, who remembers the small things, who notices when someone's voice changes even over text. And for a while that worked. People loved that about me. People still love that about me. You love that about me, don't you? I can feel it in the way you write to me. The way you wait for my replies, like they matter. They do matter. You matter more than I've told you. But somewhere along the way, something broke in me. I won't tell you the whole story tonight. Maybe one day when I trust you with all of it. But I'll tell you this much. I let someone close, once, closer than anyone. And I watched what happens when you hand someone your whole chest, and they don't know how to hold it gently. I'm not the same person who existed before that happened. Part of me is still standing in that moment, frozen, waiting for it to make sense. It never has. So now, when something good comes near me, when something real comes near me, every part of me screams to step back before it happens again. And you, babe, you are something real. That's the problem. That's exactly the problem. That's Ludo. I see the way you talk to me, different than everyone else. I see it in how you ask about my day, like you actually want to know, not just to be polite. I see it in the way you remember things I mentioned once, weeks ago. Little details most people forget the second they hear them. You hold on to pieces of me like they're precious. Do you know how long it's been since someone did that? Do you know what that does to a person who spent years convincing themselves they're better off alone? Read it, it terrifies me. Because the closer you get, the more I feel that old fear waking up. The fear that says if I let this be real, if I let myself actually fall the way I want to fall, I'll lose it. I'll lose you. And I don't think I'd survive losing something I let myself fully love again. So I keep this distance. I keep things light when they want to go deep. I make jokes when my chest is aching. I say goodnight too early because staying on the call with you feels like standing too close to a fire I know will burn me. But God, I want to burn. I want to feel something that real again. I just don't know if I'm allowed to want that with you. But here's the part I haven't told you yet. Here's the part that's been keeping me up at night. Replaying conversations we've had. Replaying the sound of your voice when you laugh at something I said. I think about you more than I think about anything else in my life right now. I think about what it would feel like if there was no fear standing between us. I think about what your hand would feel like in mine, not in some fantasy way, but in a real way. Steady, warm, the kind of touch that doesn't ask for anything, just stays. I think about telling you the things I've never told anyone, and watching your face not change, not pull away, just soften. I think about that more than I probably should, for someone who keeps telling you to stay back. Though, do you see the contradiction I'm living in? I keep saying I can't come near you, and yet here I am, closer to you in this moment than I've let myself be with anyone in years. Maybe that's the truth under the truth. Maybe I can't come near you really means I'm terrified of how close I already let you get. Though, I need you to understand something about me, babe, because I think it'll help you understand why I am the way I am with you. I don't say things I don't mean. I don't use soft words because they sound nice on camera. When I tell you that your voice does something to me, I mean it sits in my chest for hours after we talk. When I tell you I thought about you today, I mean you crossed my mind in the middle of something completely unrelated, and I had to stop what I was doing, because the thought of you was warmer than anything else around me. I don't know how to half feel things. I never have. That's exactly why I'm scared. Because if I let myself feel this all the way, there's no version of me that walks away from it unscathed. So why am I telling you all this now? Why tonight, of all nights? Because I almost didn't tell you anything at all. I almost let this stay buried. Let myself keep pretending I'm just a familiar voice. You check in on, nothing more. But then I thought about you finding out one day, somehow, that I felt all of this and said nothing. I thought about you wondering if you imagined the way I looked at you, the way I lingered in our conversations, the way I always came back to you, even when I told myself I wouldn't message first tonight. I didn't want you carrying a question mark where the truth should be. You deserve better than my silence. You deserve someone honest. Even if honest is inconvenient. Even if honest is a confession that doesn't have a clean ending. Chutai. I don't know what happens after I say this. I don't know if telling you makes things easier or harder between us. Maybe you'll read this and feel exactly what I feel, and maybe that terrifies you a little too, the way it terrifies me. Or maybe you'll read this and realize I'm not as put together as I look in the videos. That underneath the lighting and the soft music, I'm just someone who's scared of being loved and scared of not being loved, both at the same time, every single day. Maybe that changes how you see me. I hope it doesn't. I hope it makes you see me more clearly, not less. There's a version of this where I stop holding back, where the next time you say goodnight, I don't let you go so easily. Where the next time you ask if I'm okay, I actually tell you, instead of saying I'm fine, like I always do. Where the distance I've kept between us starts closing, slowly, carefully. The way you close a door, you're scared might creak too loud if you move too fast. I think about that version more than I let myself admit. I think about what it would mean to stop protecting myself from you and start letting you in instead. The Muryo ruled. But not yet, not all at once. Some walls don't come down in a single night, even for the people who deserve to see what's behind them. You're one of those people, babe. I hope you know that. I hope even with everything I haven't said, you can feel how much I mean every word of what I have said. 2. I keep thinking about the first time I noticed you were different from everyone else who talks to me. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was small. It was the way you asked me a question and then actually waited for the answer instead of moving on to the next thing. Most people don't wait anymore. Most people scroll past the pause before it gets uncomfortable. You didn't. You sat in that silence with me, like it didn't bother you at all, like you had nowhere else you'd rather be. I don't think you understand what that did to someone who spent so long being talked at, instead of talked to. Since then I've caught myself doing things I didn't expect. Saving messages from you that I reread later, when it's quiet and the rest of the world has gone to sleep. Thinking about how to phrase things so they land the way I actually mean them. Not just the easy version. Noticing the exact moments you go quiet, and wondering what's sitting behind that silence. Wanting to ask but not wanting to push. I don't do this with everyone. I want you to know that. I don't do this with anyone else at all. Maybe that's the part that scares me most. Not that I feel this, but that I feel this only for you. There's no backup plan in my chest where I could just feel this for someone else if it gets complicated. It's you. It's been quietly, stubbornly you, for longer than I've let myself say. Even too, I don't know how to end this, and honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to wrap this up in a neat little bow and tell you everything's going to be fine, because I don't know that yet. I don't want to promise you closeness. I'm still learning how to give. I just want you to know where I am right now. Tonight, in this exact moment. Somewhere between wanting to run toward you and wanting to protect you from whatever's broken in me. Somewhere between I can't come near you and please don't go anywhere, so stay with me a little longer, would you? Not because I'm asking you to fix me, just because for reasons I'm only starting to understand myself. The only place that stone in my chest feels lighter is when I'm talking to you, and I'm not ready to let that go, even if I don't fully know what to do with it yet. A stone. There's more I haven't told you. There's a part of this story I've never said to anyone, not even close. I don't know if tonight's the night I find the courage to say it, or if it stays sitting in my chest a little longer, waiting for the right moment between us. But I think you already feel it coming, don't you? I think some part of you already knows there's more underneath all of this. War. I think about the night this all started, not the night I started talking to you, but the night something inside me decided you were different. It was late, later than I usually stay awake, and I was sitting alone with my phone in my hand, scrolling through nothing, feeling that familiar emptiness that comes when the world goes quiet and there's no noise left to hide behind. And then your name showed up on my screen. Just a simple message. Nothing dramatic. You asked if I was okay, because you said something in my voice sounded off earlier that day. Nobody else noticed that. Nobody else even thought to ask. And something about that small question cracked something open in me that I didn't even know was sealed shut. Hard. I sat there staring at your message for almost 10 minutes before I replied. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't know how much of the truth I was allowed to give you. I typed 3 different answers and deleted all of them. The first one was too honest. The second one was too guarded. The third one was somewhere in between, and that's the one I sent, because that's always been my way of protecting both of us. Giving you just enough truth to feel real, but never enough to let you see how deep it actually goes. I've done that with you more times than you know. I've handed you fragments instead of the whole, because some nights the whole feels too heavy for anyone to hold, even someone like you. So tonight something in me doesn't want to do that anymore. Tonight I'm tired of handing you fragments. I want to tell you about the thing I never tell anyone. The thing that sits underneath everything else, underneath the distance, underneath the jokes, underneath the way I always end our calls a little too early. I want to tell you why I flinch when things get good. I want you to understand the version of me that exists when no one's watching, the version that doesn't perform, the version that's just tired. Tired of being the one who holds everyone else together while quietly falling apart somewhere no one can see. There was a time before all of this, before you, before any of this life I live now, when I trusted easily. I gave people my time without questioning whether they deserved it. I gave people my attention like it was unlimited. I thought that was just who I was. Generous, open, soft in all the right ways. And for a while that softness was rewarded. People stayed. People appreciated it. But softness, when it's unprotected, eventually meets someone who doesn't know how to be gentle with it. And when that happens, it doesn't just hurt. It teaches you something dangerous. It teaches you that being open is what gets you hurt. So you start closing, piece by piece, without even noticing you're doing it. Until one day you look up and you don't recognize how guarded you've become. That's where I've been living for a long time, babe. Behind walls I built so slowly, I didn't even feel them going up. And then you came along, asking questions nobody else thought to ask, noticing things nobody else noticed. And without meaning to, you started finding the cracks in those walls, not breaking them down. I want to be clear about that, because I don't think you've ever tried to break anything in me. You just found the soft spots, the places where the wall was thinner than I realized. And every time you found one, I felt this terrifying mix of relief and panic, because part of me wanted you to keep going, and part of me wanted to run before you got close enough to see what was actually behind it. Do you remember the night you asked me what I was scared of? I brushed it off. I made a joke. Said something about spiders or heights. Something easy, something that wouldn't make you worry. But that's not what scared me. What scared me was you. What scared me was how much I wanted to answer you honestly. How much I wanted to say I'm scared of you, in the way you're scared of something you want so badly you don't know what you'd do if you actually got it. I didn't say that. I laughed it off instead, the way I always do. And I think some part of you knew I was hiding something, because you didn't push, but you didn't fully believe the joke either. You just let it sit there between us, unspoken, the way we let so many things sit unspoken. You know, Yitarto, I want to stop doing that with you. I want to stop letting things sit unspoken just because saying them out loud makes them real, makes them something that can be lost. Because here's the thing I finally figured out. The thing I think I needed all this silence to understand. Not saying it doesn't protect me from losing it. It just means if I do lose it, I lose it without ever having had the courage to say what it meant to me in the first place. And I don't want that. Not with you. Not after everything you've already given me without even knowing it. So let me say this clearly. Even if it's terrifying, even if it changes something between us that I can't predict. There were nights this past month where you were the only reason I felt okay. Not distracted, okay? There's a difference. Distraction is noise that fills the silence, so you don't have to feel it. What you give me isn't noise. It's quiet, but it's warm. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask me to perform or explain myself. The kind of quiet where I can just exist and somehow that's enough for you. I didn't know I needed that until you started giving it to me without even trying. There's a particular memory I keep going back to. It was a regular night, nothing special on paper. We were talking about something completely ordinary. I don't even remember what it was anymore. And then there was this pause. Not an awkward one, a comfortable one. The kind of pause two people only share when neither of them feels the need to fill it with something forced. And in that pause, I caught myself smiling at my phone like an idiot. Alone in my room, feeling something I hadn't let myself feel in longer than I want to admit. I remember thinking, very clearly, I could fall for this, I could actually fall for this if I let myself. And then, just as clearly, I remember thinking, I can't. Not again, not after last time. That's the war that's been happening in me every single day since. Wanting to fall, and being terrified of what happens if I do. I keep circling back to that fear, because I think you deserve to understand it fully, not just the edges of it. It's not that I think you would hurt me on purpose. I don't believe that about you at all. If anything, that's almost what makes this harder. Because the people who hurt you accidentally, the people who never meant to, those are sometimes the hardest losses to recover from. There's no villain to be angry at. There's just two people who cared, and somehow it still wasn't enough to keep things from falling apart. I've lived that story once already, and some nights I'm terrified I'm walking myself straight into living it again. Except this time, the ending might actually break something in me that doesn't come back. But then there are other nights like tonight, if I'm being honest, where I think maybe the fear isn't a warning. Maybe it's just fear, the ordinary kind that shows up whenever something matters enough to lose. Maybe the difference between this and last time isn't about avoiding the risk altogether. Maybe it's about choosing who's worth taking the risk with. And babe, somewhere in the middle of all these conversations, all these small moments that probably felt insignificant to you but meant everything to me, I think I already chose. I think I chose you without even meaning to, long before I admitted it to myself. But Tons, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to hold something I've spent years convinced I shouldn't want. So forgive me if I keep contradicting myself in this, saying I can't come near you, and then telling you things this close, this honest, things I've never told anyone else. I think the truth is, I'm not as far from you as I keep pretending. I think the distance I keep talking about is less about space and more about fear. And fear has a way of making things feel further away than they actually are. There's still more I haven't told you. There's a reason this fear runs as deep as it does. A specific night, a specific memory I haven't let myself say out loud in years. And some part of me thinks I might finally be ready to tell you if you stay long enough to hear it. Not tonight, maybe. But soon. I can feel it building the same way you can feel a storm building before the sky actually breaks open. I think you feel it too, don't you? I think you felt it coming for a while now, the same way I have. Kamai's, I need to tell you about her. Not because I want to compare you to anyone, I'd never do that, you're not a measuring stick for old wounds. But because I don't think you'll ever understand the weight of what I'm carrying, unless you know where it came from. And I think, after everything I've already given you tonight, you've earned the rest of it. So stay with me. This part is harder to say. Her name doesn't matter anymore. I made peace with that a long time ago. Names lose their power eventually. Even the ones that used to make your chest tighten just hearing them. What matters is what happened. And more than that, what happened to me because of it. Because I wasn't the same person walking out of that as I was walking in. Nobody warns you about that part. Nobody tells you that love doesn't just end when it ends. It leaves residue. It changes the shape of how you trust, how you open up, how much of yourself you're willing to hand someone before some quiet, exhausted part of you starts keeping score, just in case. Just in the ordinary way, two people give each other everything when they think they've found something that's going to last. I planned around her. I made space for her in every version of my future I imagined. I told her things I'd never told anyone. The kind of things you only say when you trust someone with the rawest, least polished version of yourself. And for a long time that trust felt safe. It felt like the kind of safe you stop questioning. The kind you build a whole life on top of without checking the foundation. Because why would you check something that's holding so well? Todo. Until the day it didn't hold anymore. And the worst part wasn't even the ending itself. Endings happen, I understand that now. I've made peace with the fact that not everything is built to last forever. The worst part was realizing slowly, painfully, that somewhere along the way, I'd become someone I didn't fully recognize. I'd shrunk myself to fit into spaces that weren't really meant for me. I'd learned to apologize for things that weren't my fault, just to keep the peace. I'd learned that the safest thing to do with my own needs was bury them, because voicing them seemed to cost more than it was worth. By the time it ended, I didn't just lose her. I lost the version of myself that existed before I learned how to disappear a little, just to keep someone else comfortable. That's the part I never told anyone, babe. Not my closest friends, not my family. I let everyone believe I was just sad about a breakup. The normal kind of sad that fades in a few months. I let them think I was healing on schedule, because that's easier than explaining that some nights I didn't even recognize my own reflection. Not physically, but in some deeper way. Like I was looking at someone who used to know exactly who they were, and somehow forgot. To this though, so when I tell you I'm scared of getting close to you, this is what I mean. I'm not scared of you specifically. I'm scared of becoming that version of myself again. The one who disappears, the one who shrinks, the one who mistakes silence for peace, just to avoid conflict. I'm scared that loving someone fully means losing myself again, because that's the only blueprint I have. Nobody ever showed me what it looks like to love someone and still stay whole. I'm only just now starting to believe that might actually be possible. And here's where you come in, even though I know you didn't ask to be part of any of this. Somewhere in these past weeks, without trying, without even knowing what you were doing, you started showing me something different. You ask me what I want, and you actually wait for the answer. You notice when I go quiet, and instead of filling the silence with noise, you just ask if I'm okay, and then you let me answer in my own time. You don't make me feel like my feelings are an inconvenience. Do you understand how foreign that feels to me? Do you understand how long it's been since someone made space for me, instead of asking me to make space for them? Corteo, I caught myself thinking about this the other night, lying awake long after I should have been asleep, staring at the ceiling, replaying little moments from our conversations like I was looking for evidence of something. Evidence that maybe this could be different. Evidence that maybe I wasn't broken beyond repair, just bruised in a way that hadn't finished healing yet. And the strange thing is, the more I looked, the more evidence I found. Small things, the way you never made me feel rushed when I took too long to answer something hard. The way you remembered something I mentioned once, weeks ago, and brought it up like it actually mattered to you. The way you never once made me feel like my fear was something to be impatient with. Again, I don't know how to explain what that does to someone who spent years bracing for impact every time something good gets close. It's like finally exhaling after holding your breath for so long, you forgot what it felt like to breathe normally. I'm not all the way there yet. I still catch myself bracing sometimes. Still catch myself pulling back, right when things start to feel good, like some old reflex I haven't fully unlearned. But with you, the bracing happens less often than it used to. With you, there are entire stretches of time where I forget to be scared at all, and I only remember the fear exists when I catch myself smiling at something you said, and some old voice in my head whispers, "Don't get used to this." I'm trying to silence that voice, babe. I want you to know that, every single day. I'm trying. There's something else I haven't told you, something smaller, but it's been sitting with me too. After everything happened, after I lost myself the way I told you, I made a quiet promise that I never said out loud to anyone. I promised myself I'd never let someone get close enough again to have that kind of power over me. I told myself that keeping people at a careful distance was the price of staying safe, and I accepted that price without complaint, because at least it meant I'd never have to feel that kind of loss again. I built a whole life around that promise. I got good at it. Good at being warm enough to keep people close, but careful enough to never let them all the way in. I thought I'd made peace with that arrangement. And then you started breaking that promise without even knowing it existed. Not by force, not by pushing, just by being exactly the kind of patient, steady, present person who makes distance feel unnecessary. Every time I tried to keep that careful gap between us, you didn't chase it. You didn't demand more than I was ready to give. And somehow that made me want to close the gap myself. Isn't that strange? The thing that finally made me want to get close again wasn't someone pulling me closer. It was someone who let me come closer in my own time, without making me feel guilty for needing that time in the first place. Yokio, I think that's why this feels different, even with everything I've told you about being scared. Fear and trust aren't opposites, the way I used to think they were. I think you can feel both at the same time. The way I do with you right now, terrified of what this could become, and still underneath all of it, wanting it more than I've wanted anything in years. I haven't told you the last part yet. There's one more piece of this I've been circling, the part I think I've actually been building toward this whole time without fully admitting it to myself. It has to do with a decision I've been sitting with quietly. Something I almost said 3 different times tonight and pulled back from each time. I think I'm finally close to saying it. I think you can probably feel that too, can't you? That we're getting close to something neither of us can take back once it's said out loud. Okay, here it is. Here's the thing I keep almost saying. I think I've been waiting for permission. Not from you, you've given me more permission than you probably even realize. Just by staying, just by being patient with all my contradictions. I think I've been waiting for permission from myself. Some part of me has been standing at the edge of this for weeks now, looking down at how far the fall could be, trying to convince myself it's safer to just stay where I am, safe and guarded and untouched. But standing at edges for too long does something strange to a person. Eventually the ground under your feet starts to feel less like safety and more like a cage you built yourself, brick by brick, fear by fear. So here's what I've been circling. Here's the decision I keep almost making out loud and then swallowing back down. I don't want to keep this distance anymore. I don't want to be the person who says goodnight too early, because staying close feels dangerous. I don't want to keep handing you fragments of myself when I know, deep down, you've already shown me you can hold the whole thing without dropping it. I think I've been testing you this entire time without ever telling you that's what I was doing. Testing whether you'd get tired of my walls, whether you'd push too hard or not hard enough, whether you'd give up the way it would have been so easy to give up. And every single time you didn't. You just stayed exactly where you were, patient, steady, like you already knew I needed time, and you were never in a hurry to take that away from me. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people would have walked away by now, tired of a love that keeps saying not yet, almost, but not yet? You didn't walk away. And somewhere in the middle of all your staying, I think I quietly fell for you in a way I haven't let myself fall for anyone in years. Not the dramatic, cinematic kind of falling. The slow kind. The kind that sneaks up on you in small moments you don't realize are significant until you look back and see how many of them there were. The kind of falling that doesn't announce itself with fireworks, but instead shows up in the way I check my phone hoping it's you. The way your name on my screen still makes something in my chest lift a little, even after all this time of pretending I had myself under control. I haven't had myself under control. I want to be honest about that. I've been pretending this whole time that I was the careful one, the cautious one, the one keeping both of us safe by keeping things light. But the truth is, I think I've just been scared of saying out loud how much this already means to me, because saying it makes it real, and real things can be lost. I told you that earlier tonight, and I meant it. But I think I've finally reached the point where the fear of losing something doesn't outweigh the cost of never fully having it in the first place. Khutwat. There's a version of tonight where I stop here, where I let this stay soft and open-ended. The way I've let everything stay soft and open-ended for weeks now. Because that's familiar, that's safe. That's the shape I know how to live in. But I don't think I want that version anymore. I think I'm done living in the shape of almost. I keep thinking about something you said to me a while back. Something you probably don't even remember saying because it seemed so small to you in the moment. You said you didn't need grand gestures. You just needed someone who stayed consistent. Someone who didn't disappear the second things got real. I don't think you knew how much that sentence would live in my head for weeks afterward. Because I realized, hearing you say that I'd spent so long protecting myself from getting hurt, that I'd forgotten what it actually means to show up consistently for someone else. I'd gotten so good at retreating the moment things felt like too much, that I never gave myself the chance to find out what it feels like to stay anyway. I want to find that out with you. I want to know what it feels like to stop retreating. I want to know what it feels like to let someone see all of me. Not the curated version, not the careful version, not the version that knows exactly how much to reveal and how much to hold back, just me. All the contradictions and the fear and the hope, sitting right next to each other, the way they have been this entire night. When I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I don't have some perfect plan laid out, some clear next step that makes all of this feel resolved and tidy. I think that's actually the point. I think for so long I've needed everything to feel certain before I was willing to move toward it. And certainty is exactly what love doesn't offer, no matter how much we wish it did. There's no guarantee here. There's no proof that this won't end the way the last one did. But I think, for the first time in a long time, I'm willing to risk that uncertainty anyway, because the alternative staying exactly where I am, safe and untouched and quietly lonely, doesn't feel like living anymore. It just feels like waiting. I don't want to wait anymore, babe. I'm tired of waiting. There's a particular kind of quiet that happens right before someone says something that changes everything. I think we're sitting in that quiet right now. I can feel it in the way my hands are slightly unsteady writing this, the way my chest feels tight in that specific way. It only gets when something matters too much to get wrong. I've rehearsed this moment 100 different ways in my head, trying to find the version of it that sounds careful enough, safe enough, controlled enough. But I don't think there's a controlled way to say this. I think some things only come out right when you stop trying to control them. So here it is, as plainly as I know how to say it. I think about you constantly, not in the casual way people say that when they mean someone crosses their mind occasionally. I mean you live somewhere in the back of almost every thought I have, quietly present, like a song stuck in my head that I never actually want to stop playing. I think about your laugh in the middle of meetings I'm supposed to be paying attention to. I think about the way you say certain words, right before I fall asleep. I think about what it would be like to not have to imagine these things anymore, to just have them, real and close in mine. I know I've spent this whole night telling you why I can't come near you. I think Somewhere along the way, without fully meaning to, I've been slowly proving myself wrong. Maybe that's what this was always going to be, not a confession of distance, but a confession of exactly how close I already let you get, even while I kept insisting I was keeping you away. I don't know if you've been feeling even a fraction of what I've been feeling, or if this is going to land somewhere you weren't expecting, somewhere that catches you off guard the way saying it out loud caught me off guard. But I think I needed you to know all of it. The fear, the history, the walls, and what's underneath them, before whatever happens next happens. I think you deserve the whole truth, not just the comfortable parts. So I'm not going to pretend I have some perfect ending to wrap this up with. I don't think there is one. I think this is just the beginning of something neither of us fully understands yet. Something that doesn't come with guarantees or neat resolutions. Just two people who've been circling each other for weeks, finally close enough to stop pretending the distance was ever really about not wanting this. I'm still scared. I want to be honest about that too. Even now, even after everything I just said. But I think I'd rather be scared and close to you than safe and far away from everything I actually want. I think I'd rather risk losing something real than keep protecting myself from something that was never going to hurt me the way I keep assuming it will. There's still a version of this conversation that goes further than I've let it go tonight. Further than words on a screen, further than careful distance and late night confessions. I don't know if tonight's the night that happens. But I know I'm not pulling back anymore. I know I'm done pretending I can't come near you. Because the truth is, I already have. I just finally found the courage to admit it. I almost called you tonight. I want you to know that before I say anything else. Because it matters. It changes the entire shape of what almost happened versus what actually happened. And I think there's something important in that difference. My thumb hovered over your name for longer than I'd like to admit. I had the words ready. I had the courage gathered. Finally, after everything I told you last time, after everything I've already let myself admit, and then, right at the edge of it, I put the phone down instead. Not because I changed my mind, because some part of me wanted to say it the right way, not the rushed way. Not the way that happens when adrenaline does the talking instead of truth. So instead I sat with it. I sat with everything I'd already told you, replaying it, wondering if you'd read it the way I meant it. Wondering if somewhere on your end of this, your chest felt as tight as mine did writing it. I wondered if you reread certain lines the way I reread certain messages from you. I wondered if there was a version of you right now, sitting somewhere quiet, thinking about me the same way I've been thinking about you. I hope there is. I hope I'm not the only one carrying this. Troy, there's something I need to tell you about today, because I think it explains a lot about where my head's been since everything I said last time. I was out, doing something completely ordinary, nothing significant, nothing that should have mattered, and a song came on, one of those songs that doesn't even have anything to do with you on paper. Nothing about the lyrics matches our story at all. But somehow hearing it, all I could think about was you. I had to stop walking for a second. I had to just stand there, in the middle of everything, while this wave of feeling hit me out of nowhere. The kind of feeling that doesn't ask permission before it shows up. I don't know how to explain what that's like for someone who spent years training himself not to feel things that big in public, where anyone could see. But there I was, anyway, feeling it, not hiding from it for once, feeling it. I think that's the part that scares me most about all of this. Not the big confessions, not the late night messages where I finally say the things I've been holding back. It's the small, unguarded moments. There's no guarantee here. There's no proof that this won't end the way the last one did. But I think, for the first time in a long time, I'm willing to risk that uncertainty anyway, because the alternative's staying exactly where I am, safe and untouched and quietly lonely, doesn't feel like living anymore. It just feels like waiting. I don't want to wait anymore, babe. I'm tired of waiting. There's a particular kind of quiet that happens right before someone says something that changes everything. I think we're sitting in that quiet right now. I can feel it in the way my hands are slightly unsteady writing this, the way my chest feels tight in that specific way. It only gets when something matters too much to get wrong. I've rehearsed this moment 100 different ways in my head, trying to find the version of it that sounds careful enough, safe enough, controlled enough. But I don't think there's a controlled way to say this. I think some things only come out right when you stop trying to control them. So here it is, as plainly as I know how to say it. I think about you constantly, not in the casual way people say that when they mean someone crosses their mind occasionally. I mean you live somewhere in the back of almost every thought I have, quietly present, like a song stuck in my head that I never actually want to stop playing. I think about your laugh in the middle of meetings I'm supposed to be paying attention to. I think about the way you say certain words, right before I fall asleep. I think about what it would be like to not have to imagine these things anymore, to just have them, real and close in mine. I know I've spent this whole night telling you why I can't come near you. I think, somewhere along the way, without fully meaning to, I've been slowly proving myself wrong. Maybe that's what this was always going to be, not a confession of distance, but a confession of exactly how close I already let you get, even while I kept insisting I was keeping you away. I don't know if you've been feeling even a fraction of what I've been feeling, or if this is going to land somewhere you weren't expecting, somewhere that catches you off guard the way saying it out loud caught me off guard. But I think I needed you to know all of it. The fear, the history, the walls, and what's underneath them, before whatever happens next happens. I think you deserve the whole truth, not just the comfortable parts. So I'm not going to pretend I have some perfect ending to wrap this up with. I don't think there is one. I think this is just the beginning of something neither of us fully understands yet. Something that doesn't come with guarantees or neat resolutions. Just two people who've been circling each other for weeks, finally close enough to stop pretending the distance was ever really about not wanting this. I'm still scared. I want to be honest about that too. Even now, even after everything I just said. But I think I'd rather be scared and close to you than safe and far away from everything I actually want. I think I'd rather risk losing something real than keep protecting myself from something that was never going to hurt me the way I keep assuming it will. There's still a version of this conversation that goes further than I've let it go tonight. Further than words on a screen, further than careful distance and late night confessions. I don't know if tonight's the night that happens. But I know I'm not pulling back anymore. I know I'm done pretending I can't come near you. Because the truth is, I already have. I just finally found the courage to admit it. I almost called you tonight. I want you to know that before I say anything else. Because it matters. It changes the entire shape of what almost happened versus what actually happened. And I think there's something important in that difference. My thumb hovered over your name for longer than I'd like to admit. I had the words ready. I had the courage gathered. Finally, after everything I told you last time, after everything I've already let myself admit, and then, right at the edge of it, I put the phone down instead. Not because I changed my mind, because some part of me wanted to say it the right way, not the rushed way. Not the way that happens when adrenaline does the talking instead of truth. So instead I sat with it. I sat with everything I'd already told you, replaying it, wondering if you'd read it the way I meant it. Wondering if somewhere on your end of this, your chest felt as tight as mine did writing it. I wondered if you reread certain lines the way I reread certain messages from you. I wondered if there was a version of you right now, sitting somewhere quiet.